geogrip, to be followed by a sub-base layer of 20 centimeters, which will also be followed by a cement stabilized base laterite course of 20 centimeters. And on top of that, that's where we'll have a 5 centimeters asphalt filling.
The Minister of Works, Transport and Infrastructure, Balagaba Jahumpa, spoke of the significance of the exercise. According to him, the construction and maintenance of feeder roads have always been a priority for the government of the Gambia. He maintains that the government, through his ministry, is going to take active part in the construction of feeder roads across the length and breadth of the country.
This Tim Corner road project has not even started as such. The ongoing works are just temporary works until the rains are finished, and then we will start the works proper to excavate at the swampy areas and lay the pipes, etc., etc. In essence, we also want to reassure the Gambian people. They can rely on His Excellency President Jammeh. They can also rely on Action Man, that the Gambian people will get their money's worth.
As efforts are underway at Tim Corner, the move taken by the Minister of Works, Transport and Infrastructure, together with the officials of the National Roads Authority, is a step in the right direction, a move expected to mitigate road traffic accidents. Famarakani, Grts News.
Now to the top of the news. Scores of cabinet ministers, among them the Secretary General and Head of the Civil Service, Mamadou Sabali, Saturday morning converged on their 7-hectare maize farm in Jalamba in the West Coast region. Our farmer Kanye saw the ministers in action and reports officials are hopeful of a successful farming season.
Represented by a sizable number of ministers returned to their Jalamba farm as part of their efforts to sustain the country's food self-sufficiency drive. The initiative is championed by President Jammeh, who continues to serve as a shining example and the torchbearer of the Vision 2020. He has always been advocating for the operation back to the land since the advent of the Second Republic. This 3.7-hectare maize field is the first cabinet farm in Jalamba village, West Coast region. The farm was given to the cabinet ministers 3 years back. The ministers since then have been cultivating the land thanks to the support and the help of the community of Jalamba. The ministers took on the exercise at impressive speed, accompanied by the sound of drums. Abdul Koli, the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, who is the farm manager, gives an overview of the situation on the farm and the support they receive from the head of state.
Almost all ministers are here today. The turnout has been very impressive, and they are all participating and doing active work. As you know, we are members of a government that is calling on people to go back to the land. And one of the best ways to demonstrate that call is to participate effectively ourselves. His Excellency the President, we all know, involves in active farming, and therefore his ministers are also expected to follow suit and do the same thing, to show to the people that you don't only have to depend on office work to live, and that farming is a noble activity, it's a noble venture, and it is one of the best ways to reduce poverty in this country.
Minister Colley went on to call on the youth folk to actively involve themselves in agriculture. According to him, farming is a lucrative business and helps to make a country self-sufficient. For her part, Honorable Fat Lamin Fai, the Minister for Basic and Secondary Education, the school feeding program under the sponsorship of the FFP is taxing the Gambia to supply their schools with the food they eat. According to her, the market has been set by the FFP. It's up to the Gambian farmers to commercialize their farming to a better standard.
So I want to call on all the youths to go out and farm, youth groups and women, because they are the only ones that can help us attain this objective of having our own homegrown school feeding program. And let me emphasize that it has happened in other countries and it worked. Gambia is amongst another set of countries that have been targeted to do it because they know it's doable. So I'm calling on everybody, because I don't want us to be the first country where it's implemented and it failed. It shouldn't fail. And we are going to buy any amount of rice that is grown in this country.
She concluded by thanking the President of the Republic of the Gambia, His Excellency Sir Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya AJJ Jammeh, for the support he renders to farmers. The Agriculture Minister Solomon Owens gives an in-depth analysis for this year's rainfall compared to the previous years, whilst concluding that this year's rains will not be a failure. He maintains that he and his ministry are with high hopes that this year's rains will be a success for the farmers.
It's not only to complement the efforts or go by the directives of the President, but it's helping realize the vision of the President with regards to food security. Because if everybody goes back to the land, no matter how small a piece of land you cultivate, it's going to contribute immensely to food security in the country.
When it comes to the general upkeep of crops in this year's farming season, Agriculture Minister Owens has some very important advice.
The big advice and the only advice is that help try and cope with the weeds. Because if the weeds suppress the crop, one, yields are very low, two, the farmer eventually abandons the field because he cannot cope with the weeds.
The Secretary General and Head of the Civil Service and the Minister for Presidential Affairs, Modu Sabali, thanked the Gambian leader for providing the enabling environment for such initiatives as the one the Cabinet is embarking on. He went on to call all Gambians to eat from what they grow, irrespective of their positions in the government, citing the President as a role model for all Gambians.
Taking up from that, I would want to extend this, in my capacity as head of the civil service, to the rest of the civil service, that it's about time we cut down on the meetings and consultations and get to work. Not only in the farms, but even in the offices. We need to be more pragmatic, we need to be more proactive, taking our key from His Excellency the President, who, as I said before, always leads by example, not just by giving instructions to people.
After a day's work on the farm, officials are hopeful of a successful farming season and a greater reward on this very impressive farm. Farmer Akani, GRTS News.
The debate on whether Washington should continue its huge financial support to the Egyptian army and other international stories coming next after this break.
Ghana's leading ICT company, assemblers of mobile phones and computers, is now in the Gambia too. We are happy to bring our services to the people of Gambia and look forward to lasting relationship with the state and its people. Come choose from RG's range of phones and computers and enjoy delightful after-sale service and the confidence of warranties that will keep your devices good as new. Visit RG at 62 Caraba Avenue, Circular KSMD, opposite the Pipeline Mouse, or check out rggambia.com for more information.
RLG, proudly yours.
Welcome back. A raging debate over whether the United States should continue its $1.3 billion in military aid to Egypt is splitting opinion in Washington. CNN's World Affairs correspondent Jill Doherty gives us more on the latest political debate shaping U.S. policy on the Egyptian crisis.
The military's bloody battle against opposition demonstrators is fueling pressure in the U.S. to suspend military assistance. Senator John McCain says the U.S. cannot be complicit in the mass slaughter of civilians.
Our law clearly states that if it's a military coup, then aid is cut off.
President Barack Obama won't go that far yet, or pull the plug on the $1.3 billion in military assistance the U.S. gives Egypt every year. That includes hardware like M1A1 Abrams tanks and F-16 fighter jets, servicing and technical support, as well as military training. Cutting aid could end up cutting money to American defense contractors. After all, the U.S. doesn't hand over cash to Egypt. It keeps it in a trust fund administered by the Treasury Department. Egypt decides what equipment it wants to buy, and the money gets paid to those contractors who provide jobs for Americans, like the tank manufacturer in Lima, Ohio, and the F-16 manufacturer in Fort Worth, Texas. Israel, too, is nervous, officials telling CNN that cutting military aid to Egypt could hurt Israel and the region. Egypt is one of only 2 Arab countries, along with Jordan, that made peace with Israel in 1978. And Israel now sees the Egyptian military as the only stable